Good morning, afternoon or evening. Today I'm going to be doing a video looking at all the new units and buildings introduced by Austria Hungary in War Selection. Austria Hungary is the newest country to be added into War Selection, and with it brings lots of tanks, artillery and different units. Starting in IR1, and the most basic is the gas mortar. Quite a small unit, very similar to the light trench mortar in that it's just a single person. It is unlocked through the research of the mortar in the arsenal in IR1, and it fires poisonous gas. Here it is in action. As you can see, it is going to now fire on these soldiers. There's 3 here firing on 50 soldiers. And you can see, following a soldier's health bar now, it will slowly start reducing in health until it dies. You can see they're dying now. Sorry about the water effect, I think that might be bugged. But you can see how the soldiers all die off relatively slowly, but very surely. Next up is from the factory, the Xaba Ir1 Armored Car. This unit has a machine gun which deals 20 damage 6 times. It has a pretty fast movement speed and about average armor for an armored car, this in IR1. Here you can see the Xaba Armored Car moving in at a relatively slow speed, moving into a small army of rangers and trench mortars. You can see as an armoured car it performs quite well, getting through the infantry and into the minimum range of the mortars relatively quickly. And you can see it's basically just a pretty basic armoured car with quite good armour. You can see the trench mortars, even with their 70 damage, are unable to do a huge amount of damage, even like 3 shells. And you can see the armoured cars deal with this situation very well. They will also be quite good for attacking enemies' economies, such as workers on farms and tractors and so on, just like any normal armoured car would. And the final IR1 unit for Austria Hungary is the Wunder Emma. You can see here it is quite an interesting unit because it is a mobile artillery piece which cannot fire at all in this mode. And it is produced in the factory. It replaces the howitzer. It's very expensive and very slow, but once you want it to fire, you improve it to the Wunder Emma on point, like this one here, and with an insane range, it fires a shot resembling the Bertha shell. You can see here, quite accurate and with high damage. Next up you can see the Wunder Emma on point, firing at 10 FT-17s. So if you're using these tanks defensively, this is probably how you're going to use them. Probably, as you can see, 3 shots manages to kill a FT-17, and they do have quite large blast radius, but due to their large minimum range, they don't actually manage to destroy any of the FT-17s. So now that the FT-17s are in the minimum range, they can just destroy it. So the Wunder Emma on point will have to be supported by either deeper defences, having more Wunder Emmas spread out behind, or just some other anti-tank like howitzers from your allies. Once you reach IR2, as Hungary now, moving out of Austria Hungary, you get access to still the same units in the factory, with the Xaba and the Wunder Emma. In the airfield you get bombers and fighters, so you've got access to all airfield units. In the barracks you unlock access to the submachine gunner, and in the docks you have access to all boats except from submarines. After researching tank blueprints in IR2, you gain access to more tanks in your factory. You can see here you gain access to the Nimrod, which is a anti-aircraft cannon with 70 damage and Its cannon can also fire at ground targets. As you can see here, it's firing at this fighter plane. Here you can see the Nimrod in action, protecting this fortified Wunder Emma. You can see that they fire with 70 damage with a little bit of AoE at the bombers. One's already been shot down. And as they come back for their second round, any stragglers are cut off and isolated and being shot at. You can see that a few of these have been destroyed so far, but his planes are also being killed. Focusing on a few planes means that they just die quicker. Although the Nimrods do perform better in mass, with them being able to deal a lot more damage against units when they're all firing at it. As you can see, they're very effective at that. And with 8 of my Nimrods left, I destroy most of the Air Force, with only a couple surviving. Here you can see the Nimrod in action against a swarm of balloons. This works basically the same against both types of balloons, with machine guns or the aerostats, which drop bombs. Obviously the light machine guns are firing back, but due to the Nimrod's quite high armour, they are unable to do much effective damage. And because of the relatively low accuracy and small splash damage of the Nimrods, they can actually hit multiple targets at once, as you can see, and are very good against balloons, making them ideal for attacking your enemy or defending your territory, being able to move around quite quickly and deal with these sorts of threats. The Wunder Emma gets upgraded, so you can go to the Wunder Emma on point, and then also a fortified Wunder Emma, which gives it extra armour, and meaning it cannot be replaced back into a moving Wunder Emma. It is now stationary and costs no population. Next you can see the Wunder Emma fortified variant. Although this is very similar to the normal Wunder Emma in place, it has higher armour, meaning it has better survivability and costs no population. You can see here that the light tanks are slightly slower than the FT-17s from before, and it performs in much a similar way. But in a defensive position these are a little bit better, I'd say, because of the extra armour making them survive longer. And you can see here I've got a bit of a layered defence, meaning that there is more fire coming in, but despite that the tanks still manage to break through and start killing my fortified Wunder Emmas. You also get access to the Zrinny, the tank destroyer. You can see here, just building it quickly. Here you can see the Zrinny tank destroyer, which has a howitzer at the front, deals 250 damage with decent accuracy, a very large range, as you can see. Here you can see the first version of the Zrinny, which fires a Bertha-like projectile and does 250 damage with a large range, but also a large minimum range, making it quite susceptible to other attacks. And with its relatively low accuracy at 14%, it's good for shelling large complexes of buildings, like here with the houses, or these cows, for instance. You can also see that its turret is actually fixed, so if I was to shoot over here, the entire tank has to do a spin to fire, as you can see. Upon researching in the factory the new assault weapons, you then get access to the new version, the Zrinny 1, or I think it's supposed to say 2, might be a small error there. So you can see you've got the Zrinny 1 here and the Zrinny 2 here, which has camouflage on it and a longer barreled cannon, meaning it has almost no minimum range compared to the first Zrinny. It does the same damage, is more accurate, and that is about the same. The biggest differences are the fact that it has no minimum range really and is more accurate, but it does the same damage. Here you can see the upgraded version of the Zrinny, which fires and moves, which is very helpful actually. You can see that it's got a much smaller minimum range and is at 11% accuracy. This is what you can research and upgrade for, and still does 250 damage. You can tell them apart by the long barrel of the gun and the camouflage. Also, by researching tank blueprints, you gain access to a upgrade for the Xaba, the Xaba Anti-Tank. Once you select that, it takes 10 seconds, and you gain access to a 100 damage cannon on the front of the turret. Here you can see. Here you can see the Xaba Anti-Tank variant in use, attacking this player's base. Although it is labelled as anti-tank variant, it does do 100 damage to both buildings and units, but its machine gun doesn't work for some reason. So it's very similar to any sort of light tank or a tankette from Poland, making it a very difficult unit to counter because of its fast fire rate and high damage. And with that, that marks the end of this video, which showcased all of Austro-Hungarian's units and hopefully will help you decide if you would like to purchase it or not. So thank you everyone for watching, enjoy the rest of your day, and goodbye.